cold, windy day outside, 1 degree, -17 wind chill, warm stove, messy bench, and this is what I'd like to talk about. Welcome to Rolaids Bench. This is Rowland, and in general, today's project, because it's so cold outside, is taking my new Bobcat 30 cal and doing some modifying per the recommendations of Ted from Ted's Holdover. And here's a link. Two things I want to add to this Bobcat is a tripod and a sling. And the main reason I need a sling is because when I get out very long from the accident I had 2 years ago and gave me some brain damage, my balance is pretty messy. And I'm usually using a walking pole. So I've tried a few different slings out there. And one of my favorites is the Safari sling. I got this on the Marauder to show you if you guys haven't seen one in use. But the Safari sling works so nice to hold the gun up close to me while I walk. And it's a simple, quick up and shoot, and then this slides right back in, and it's just simple for me. Works very nice for a gun of this style. Now the feel of holding the Marauder, can't really compare the feel and balance of a Marauder versus a Bobcat. I'm telling you guys, I splurged. Let's get started. First step we need to do is take the stock off. Simply unloosen this enough so that there's a little wiggle there. You may need to take a pair of needle nose just to start to spin the tube off. You'll hear a hiss of air. There we go. Tube's out. One more screw here. And there's your action barrel. What Ted showed us, the Atlas Bipod with a quick release. He showed us that with this setup, you could put this here so that you could still get to that screw and loosen it up. Here's the problem. I think FX is randomly putting this screw hole in, and it's a little bit off to the side. And if I center this over the flat, it actually doesn't show up. So I'm actually going to do a couple different things. One, I want to move this down here toward the end. And so I'm going to drill and tap. That's an 8mm by 1.25, and it's just tapped right into the stock. Then I'm going to bolt this on in such a way that I can actually put this on either direction, and whether it's through this hole here for a sling mount, which we'll use later, or whether it's in this slot, we'll still be able to access this little snugging screw to snug that stock against the air tube. Today my bolt of choice is actually going to be using a kit. This is Permacoil. It's an old one here from my local hardware store. Been on the shelf for a while. And you can also get like a helicoil. There's a couple different brand names, but in my experience over the years working with different plastics and injection molded materials, foam products, I would prefer to have these little metal threads down in there so I can take a bolt in and out as many times as I want and know that it's not going to be boogering that up. I don't intend to do this often, I just know I'll get a stronger hold and a better long-term quality. Okay, first let's get this bolted to the stock. So I'm going to center this and then mark where to drill. So with this helicoil kit, if you've never used it before, we've got a couple different things. We have the actual little metal coils that go down into the plastic, and then that creates a metal thread that your little bolt can go into. There's a little tang on the end that you can see right there that will punch out in a little bit. There you go. So now we take the tap that they supplied, which will tap the outside thread diameter of the little insert. And if you go slow with the drill, you should be able to let it do the tapping. Okay, now because there is almost 3/4 of an inch of depth that you can see between this point and this point for this screw to thread into, and you can see that these aren't quite that long, I'm actually going to stack 2 of these down into the threaded hole. So we use the little tool that they supplied, threads in there, grabs that, I'm going to check the depth by just coming back out and using my finger here. Looks like I can go a little further. There we go. Now we'll take a little punch, put down in the hole there, and knock the little tang right off. There it is. It knocks right off of there. So now I'm going to put a second one in and stack the 2. This one I'm going to just put right under the surface. There we are. And we'll test thread. I'm using a 1024 bolt, also a 5mm will work. Either one of those will work. And that is awesome. Very smooth. And now we have a metal to metal thread right there. Great. Them 2 are done. Now, this, that looks beautiful. Now we just need to move this hole, which you can see doesn't quite line up. They definitely got it off center there. We need to move this hole down here so that it is centered with that sling mount hole. And that way, no matter which side we want to choose to put our sling on, this can be flipped around to whatever is convenient. Again, this is 8125 tap, and here's the bit for that. But I'm going to first drill it with a smaller hole. So this is how FX designed for your stock to snug against the air tube. At the end of this set screw down the hole is this little ball, and that little ball is a rubber ball that squishes against your tube. Now the downside that I've seen so far is you pull the tube in or out, that little ball can fall out. So to fix that, a simple piece of electrical tape on the inside right over that hole. Then that ball can be down inside there, dropped in, and that can still press through that tape and yet hold it in place. After a little bit of experimenting, I want to show you something. This is a 16 millimeter length. This is a 12 millimeter length of the size 8 set screw. It came with a 12 millimeter and went to this hole. What I've found is when you use this little ball, the way the stock is tapering, you're going to want the shorter 12 millimeter to the front. Otherwise, this being in the front now will be a little bit too long and will come above the surface. So we'll drop the ball in there and put the shorter 12 millimeter into this hole. And I'm just going to go ahead and put this one back into its original hole to store. Put that on the surface. And now we can mount our Atlas Bipod 4-inch Picatinny rail. There we go, and easy to access our little snugging screw. So there's the setup. After using Harris bipods and a few others, I will have to say this Atlas is just downright sweet. Is it worth the money? I guess that's for you to decide, but when you get precision engineering and no more than crazy springs that are constantly snapping the legs up and down that I never liked, and just how smooth this is to operate, I think you'll be sold. Also, very nice quick release setup that even locks right here so that it can't come off by just bumping it. That has got to be one of the nicest quick releases for a Picatinny that I've ever seen. And the nice feature of cant and swivel. It's just nice, smooth, and solid. Ted, thanks so much for your input. I'm impressed with that bipod. Okay, next I want to work on the sling. I've got a Magpul sling set up. I'll show you more about that in a little bit. But just so you can see how this works, that's just a simple sliding adjustable cheek piece. And I'm going to put the Magpul right here. Now because this is a 12 millimeter rail, and this is a Weaver Picatinny, we're going to use this little adapter from UTG to put that on. Now I've got an issue, is this bolt is not quite long enough. I'm actually going to sand a little bit off of both of these sides to allow this to grab just a little bit better and get a little more bolt on there. There, I got it fitting now. Some quick tactical Sharpie. That's snug. Let's test this thing out. Okay, the moment of truth. I have the Magpul QD4. It's a dual. It can go from single point to double point. Wow, check that out. I think I like that. That is slick. Now here is from single point to double point. And this is the dual or 2-point sling configuration. I'm telling you guys, I am impressed. I'm just downright impressed. I've never tried a Magpul quick release setup like this, but this nice little adapter that comes from Atlas has got the little hole right there, so you can just pop that guy in, swivels, it hangs, and when you come up, depending on this adjustment right here, which you can simply, it's really easy to go longer or shorter. You can add a little bit of tension So you can come around there and really quick put some tension on the gun. I'm excited to take this to the farm and try it, but just walking around here a little bit with it, and the way that this swivel works and this connection point, it keeps it rotated into you. This isn't flopping all over the place. With this Magpul sling, you can quickly adjust back and forth right here with this loop for length. And we can go from the dual point with a simple push of the button, locking into this here, to a single point setup just that fast. Guys, I'm impressed. So hope this little bit of tips and tricks helps you innovate the setup that you like best. Take care. See you next time.